Today, I've got the key to the 2025 GR Corolla, Toyota's recently refreshed 3-cylinder, all-wheel drive monster of a hot hatch. This has been manual transmission only, but now they're offered with an 8-speed automatic. So today, let's find out what an automatic GR Corolla is like to live with as a daily driver. The GR Corolla may share a name with Toyota's ubiquitous compact car, but it's a whole different animal. It's been out since the 2023 model year, and here's a quick recap. This is about as far from the standard Corolla as you can get. Rally-inspired, all-wheel drive, 300 horsepower, 3-cylinder, a stiffer body structure, and suspension that eats up corners. It's also about 50% more expensive than a standard Corolla. These are built in a dedicated facility, injecting each GR with specialized features, performance, and capability that justify that extra expense. And there have been quite a few updates for 2025, and it's not just the introduction of this automatic transmission. While that is the big news here, there are also some other notable changes. We still have 300 horsepower here, but torque has been increased from 273 to 295 pound-feet on all trim levels. And the new Premium Plus trim, which is what we have here, effectively replaces the limited production Circuit Edition. Front and rear limited slip diffs are now standard. The track mode torque split is now variable. The front end has been tweaked for better airflow, and there's a few suspension updates that are aimed at increasing traction. This automatic could potentially expand the appeal of this car to people who don't want or can't drive a manual. And the rest of the changes show that the platform is maturing. So I'm interested to find out if the character is still the same as before. But first, I think we need to take a quick look at this exterior design. All right, let's start right here in the front. Now, this front end has been redesigned to improve airflow. Now, personally, I don't think it looks quite as good as before, but I appreciate that functionally it's better. Though Toyota does seem as though they're reverting back to the gigantic front grille theme that they were so proud of a few years ago. We've got the bulging hood and functional vents, and those are available only on this Premium Plus. I think it looks awesome. And you can see that this is quite a bit wider than the standard Corolla with these bulging wheel flares. Got some grippy Michelin Pilot Sport 4s running on some really nice looking 18-inch wheels. 4-piston brakes up front, 2-piston in the rear. And there's lots of functional vents and aero going on here. Brake cooling ducts. Now, because of the wider stance, this has sort of a weird kind of bulging look from the rear. It's odd, but I kind of like it. Triple exhaust out here in the back. And this Premium Plus gets this super rad carbon roof, which reduces weight and lowers the Corolla's center of gravity. Oh, we also get a rear wiper and GR badges all around. Overall, it's a really nice looking hatchback. All right, let's start with what's right underneath my butt. These awesome seats. They're quite comfortable, very supportive. They're not like a deep racing style seat, so it's not that hard to get in and out of the vehicle. And they still do a reasonable job at keeping you in your seat when you're going around tight turns. Now, these are manually adjustable, and it's pretty easy to find a comfortable driving position here. They are also heated. You got these big, chunky heated seat buttons right here on the center console. Nice GR stitching in the headrest. Decent amount of headroom. Legroom is pretty good. Decent amount of space from side to side, though I do wish these surfaces were kind of padded if you're kind of holding yourself in as you're going around tight turns on a twisty road. These are very hard surfaces. In terms of visibility, it's actually really quite good. You got very large windows here, which is in stark contrast to the Mazda 3 that I drove recently, which had like these tiny, tiny itty bitty windows. This is kind of nice. The belt line's not too high. Right in front of me, a very nice looking steering wheel. Lots of buttons on it, but they're all pretty self-explanatory. Behind that, we've got the paddle shifters for this automatic transmission. Now, these are kind of like the same paddle shifters that you get in any other Toyota. They don't really feel all that special. Might be nice if they were like aluminum or something, but they're fine. Now, behind that steering wheel and those paddle shifters is the digital gauge cluster. Now, there's a couple different views here. Everything is very clean and easy to read. Shows your boost gauge, you got your torque split. When you're in normal mode, it's set up to show this circular tachometer. When you're in sport mode, it shows you kind of like a digital gauge. Then moving on to this center, the infotainment screen is not all that large, but it's functional. Graphics are easy to read. Not much to see here, doesn't do a whole lot, but it works fine. I think chances are you're just gonna bypass that and use Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. Thankfully, we have wireless CarPlay and Android Auto here. Got a volume knob right here on the left, which I appreciate. Now, right below that, we have a climate control system that is all physical controls, dials for the temperature on the left and right, and buttons for everything else. You don't have to muck about with a screen to do any of this stuff. It's simple, easy to use while you're driving. I love it. Also, obviously, no sunroof because we have that carbon roof above us, and that would just add weight that we don't need to add. Now moving on to this center console, we of course have the shifter for our automatic transmission. Now this does also sort of feel like standard Corolla. Yeah, there is some red stitching here, but it doesn't feel that much different than what you get in any other Toyota product. Above that, we've got our wireless charger for our phone, though it's not very grippy. So if you're going around some tight turns on the canyon road, your phone's gonna bounce around a little bit. We've got our drive mode selector right here, custom, sport, normal, and eco, actual physical e-brake, which I like. Down here, you've got your GR4 torque split dial. You can select normal, gravel, and push down for track. We'll talk about what that does in a little bit when we drive. Two kind of smallish cup holders and a fair amount of glossy piano black here, which I've mentioned in other videos is not my favorite because over time it does get kind of scratched and it kind of looks grungy. And kind of surprisingly, no center console. There's no storage right here. I don't really know why. We have this kind of rubberized space right here for your phone or your key or something like that, but storage in here is not all that great. Door pockets are kind of small. Have your passengers hold stuff for you. One USB port up here on the front, and then this one back here is kind of shared with the rear passenger, so you got two ports there. So the GR Corolla starts at around 40 grand, but it can go past $50,000 with this premium plus trim plus options. And when you look around, does this feel like a $50,000 car? No, it just feels like a Corolla. But when you buy this, you know you're not paying for the interior experience. You're paying for everything that kind of surrounds this cabin. That 3-cylinder motor, the incredible suspension, this versatile all-wheel drive system, and everything that goes into making this a performance monster. So yeah, it's not a $50,000 looking interior, but I think a lot of people can look past that. One thing that I might not be able to look past is the comfort in the back seat. I'm not really looking forward to checking that out, but I think we have to. All right, let's go. Actually, it's a little bit better than I was expecting. Now, I have my seat set for myself. I'm 6'3", and I actually can kind of fit back here. Yeah, my knees are kind of straddling this somewhat wide seat, but if the driver was a little bit more sharing with the interior space and moved up a little bit, I think I'd actually fit back here quite well. Let's see if I sit up straight. You know what? This is crazy. My head doesn't even touch the ceiling. I was totally expecting my head to be grazing the ceiling. So I'm actually kind of pleasantly surprised about the space back here. It's not as bad as I was led to believe. Now, of course, you don't want to fit 3 back here. That would be terrible, but you could have 2 adults back here, I think, in reasonable comfort. Though I will say, if you need to fit a car seat back here for your kid or for a baby, it's probably not going to fit all that well. You definitely have to move this front seat up. But no real luxury features back here, no vents. There's one USB port that you can share with that front passenger, and that's about it. Now, in terms of cargo space, it's not the greatest. You have a very high load floor here, and you can see there's just not a whole lot of space. There's a couple pockets here on the left and the right. If you lift this up, you can see that there's a little bit more space under that floor, but that's also where the battery is, so it's occupied by things that are required to make the car run. Now, you can fold those rear seats down, but you do have to move those front seats up a little bit to allow those back seats to actually fold. And once they're folded, you do have quite a bit more space, but it is severely compromised if you get the optional chassis brace like we have here. This probably could fit a bike in a pinch, but not with that brace. That really kind of hinders the kind of large items that you can fit in here. So yeah, storage space isn't really this vehicle's strong suit, but because it is sort of a driver-focused vehicle, maybe there's not gonna be passengers back here all that often, so just put all your cargo in the back seat. All right, enough talking about rear seats and cargo. Let's actually go drive this thing. I never thought I'd love the sound of a 3-cylinder engine, yet here we are. 1.6 liters of raw turbocharged Fury. That's 185.4 horsepower per liter. Insane. All right, so if you're interested in this car, you'll likely want to know how quickly it can get to 60 miles per hour from a dead stop. Toyota says it can do it in a blazing 4.9 seconds, either with the manual or this automatic. But after driving this auto for a little bit, it's pretty clear that it can shift a lot faster than I can shift with the manual. But based on how it's geared, it doesn't really affect the 0 to 60 time all that much versus the manual. And this is right there in the same ballpark as the Civic Type R and the Elantra N. When I enter this car and I go to start it, I always stomp my left foot down like the clutch should be there, but it's not. I just can't quite convince myself that this car is also now available as an auto. While I tend to prefer manuals in cars like this, I'm not one of those manual elitist jerks that says you can't buy an automatic. Some people can't drive manuals, and maybe you just want a little bit more daily driver livability. when you're not on a canyon road like this one. And this torque converter 8-speed auto, while it's not a lightning fast dual clutch, it's actually pretty damn fast and gives you a discernible kick in the butt when you shift. I don't really see anyone complaining about the shifting speed here. It will likely be a lot faster than people can shift with a manual. And it lets you really wring out this engine. In terms of sheer enjoyment, it offers an experience that is very different, but I'd say is as good as the manual. Yeah, obviously with the auto, you don't have as much work to do. It doesn't have the same level of involvement that I love so much with a manual transmission, but that is sort of offset with those quicker shifts and the less busy experience when you're stuck in traffic. Now, when it comes to handling, the GR Corolla provides a seemingly inexhaustible well of grip. The chassis stiffness is immediately apparent on a road like this. Easily one of the most fun small cars I have ever driven. It just sticks so much grip. Oh, the brakes are really good too. That's kind of important. There are a lot of cliffs around here. Don't want to go off the edge of one. And Toyota made some updates to the suspension to reduce bounciness under hard cornering. On public roads, I'm not sure I'd be able to detect the nuances between last year's model and this year's, but maybe you'd be able to discern that on a racetrack. We've got a few other modes down here with this rotary dial, and this allows you to adjust the torque split between the front and rear. Steering feel is a bit on the heavier side, but honestly, it's great for this type of driving. Now, this GR Corolla offers so much performance potential, so much capability, that to really reach the limits of this car, you are most likely also testing the limits of the law. So if you really want to maximize all the capability here, I really do think that the best place to do that is on a racetrack. All right, so we're back down in the city, about to do some of the boring driving that many of us get stuck doing on a daily basis. I've dropped it back into normal mode. So apart from the canyon road drives, how does this thing work out as a daily driver? Now, when it comes to ride quality for everyday driving, you definitely do feel the imperfections in the road. What makes it so razor sharp on your canyon road makes it a little bit more unforgiving on city roads. It's not backbreaking, it's certainly not the worst that I've ever driven, but if you do have a significant other that doesn't appreciate things like 300 horsepower, carbon roofs, or canyon road handling, they might find the ride a bit jouncy and bouncy. For the price of this thing, some might expect user selectable dampers with a comfort mode. Now, speaking of comfort, the seats are actually great around town, lots of support, and they're not overly difficult to get in or out of, unlike the Type R that I had from a few years ago. And the automatic transmission out here among the traffic, it just kind of hides out and does its job. Road noise is pretty significant, but that kind of goes with the hot hatch territory. Fuel economy is acceptable considering the power that's available on tap, 19 city, 27 highway, and 22 combined. In terms of everyday usage, the small size of the GR Corolla certainly limits the practicality, even as a hatchback, especially with the optional chassis brace in the back. My camera gear and just a few bags of groceries quickly filled up the hatch. And unless your friends are on the smaller side, they may not want to ride around in the back of this thing. It is pretty tiny, and that may be just fine with you. This car is all about the driver. All right, so how much does all of this cost you? The GR Corolla starts at just over 40 grand for the core model. This Premium Plus with the optional red paint, chassis brace, floor mats, and destination charge comes to just over 50 grand. And it may be difficult to find one as they're not building a ton of these. Now, some of you might say, oh, that's a lot of money for a Corolla, but I would say you just have to drive one. It's just so unique and so good. But yeah, I get it. It doesn't have a $50,000 interior. So in terms of competition, the Honda Civic Type R offers similar performance for a similar price range. The Type R has a nicer, roomier interior, but no all-wheel drive. The Hyundai Elantra N is another possibility. Again, it offers similar performance and it's cheaper, but the styling might not be your cup of angled plastic, I mean tea. The Volkswagen Golf R is more refined and quicker, but it's also a lot more expensive, and certainly not as wild of a ride as this hilarious GR Corolla. The Subaru WRX is another possibility, but not quite as much power in the Subaru, though it is roomier. I think what sets the GR apart from these others is that it took a different approach. This turbocharged 3-cylinder makes lovely, unique sounds, and it's not ashamed to wear its rough edges and lack of luxury as a badge of honor, even with the automatic. And you know what? That auto might even smooth out a few of those rough edges. Ultimately, when you step inside a GR Corolla, you know it's going to be a great time. And I'm just glad that Toyota makes such a rough and tumble car like this. It's still hard to believe that this is the same company that brought us so many beige Camrys. That's gonna be it for today. If you like this video and you wanna see more like it, please consider subscribing and hitting that bell icon. If you'd like to help support the channel, please buy a Hello Road t-shirt or hat at helloroad.tv/shop. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you're well, and I'll see you soon.